This is me teaching myself Latin, and piano, and cooking, and herbalism, and literary theory. Why? Because social media is rotting my brain, and I want it back. The modernist writer Virginia Woolf once said, "Thinking is my fighting." She was talking about fighting World War II, but I would argue we're in the midst of a war right now. A war for our attention, our literacy, our discernment, our very cognition, and thinking is our best defense. Maybe our only defense. I never used to be much of a social media user, but during isolation, scrolling the feeds became awfully seductive. Watching reel after reel, TikTok after TikTok distracted me from my loneliness, made me feel like I was still connected to the world. It took me years to notice that my memory was shot, I was reading less, I stopped journaling, and came up with exactly zero interesting writing ideas. I found myself constantly wondering, how do I get back to who I used to be? Little did I know that the way back was something I'd been doing my entire life, in one form or another, and you probably have too. Learning stuff. You don't need to go back to school, hire a private tutor, or sign up for some Instagram guru's business course. As long as you have an internet connection, a notebook, a little bit of time, and a lot of motivation, you too can reclaim your brain with self-education. And by the end of this video, you'll have a simple 4-step framework to get you started. But first, what we talk about when we talk about brain rot. Brain rot. The Oxford Dictionary's 2024 word of the year, which is concerning in and of itself. The dictionary defines brain rot as the supposed deterioration of a person's mental or intellectual state, especially viewed as a result of the overconsumption of material, now particularly online content, considered to be trivial or unchallenging. Also, something characterized as likely to lead to such deterioration. But that's a lot of words to say when scrolling TikTok makes you dumb. Brain rot takes many forms, but much like, shall we say, material of an adult nature, I know it when I see it. It's the short videos that engage the eye but not the brain. It's nonsense words that delight children but say nothing. It's outsourcing every question you could ever have to ChatGPT. It's overstimulation for the sake of viewer retention. I think brain rot can also be the act of scrolling itself, which is more likely to ensnare the kind of person who would click on an education video, myself included. Maybe the content you're scrolling past does have some value to it, maybe even artistry, like a product review or a crafting tutorial. But it's still passive consumption that draws our attention away from activities that would demand more of us. Maybe you're wondering if there's any truth to the term brain rot. Like, sure, those Roblox, Storytime, TikToks are not making us smarter, but are they actually hurting our brains? Well, in the name of honesty, we don't really know. In my research, I couldn't find any studies conclusively linking content consumption to cognitive decline, and that may be because that would require a longer term study, and this question is still quite new. But I am aware of the study that took the internet by storm just a few months ago called Your Brain on ChatGPT, which found that participants who used LLMs to help them write essays had less brain activity and neural connectivity. The study is both fascinating and disconcerting, but it has not yet been peer-reviewed, and the authors do clearly state that their findings don't prove that LLM usage damages brain function. But I have to wonder, does it matter? Does it really matter that the almighty studies aren't here yet? You probably clicked on this video because you remember a time when your brain felt better, and you know that the Reels and the TikToks and the Twitter feeds are not giving you what you need. In many ways, the brain is like a muscle. You use it or lose it. I came across an article from Utah State University that explains brain health very simply. The cognitive reserve hypothesis suggests that a very healthy, high-capacity brain, a brain with high cognitive reserve, is one where there are a lot of healthy brain cells, and those brain cells have a lot of connections with one another. A brain with low cognitive reserve does not have as many connections between the brain cells, and likely has fewer healthy cells. In order to build connections between brain cells and increase the connections between existing brain cells, you need to use the cells to establish the connection, and then keep using the cells to maintain that connection. And that, I think, is the key here, maintaining the connection. Short and easily digestible content just isn't enough of a workout to keep our brain cells strong. Brain rot may not be literal rot, but it is neglect. Why self-education is the antidote. It's so simple that saying it almost sounds stupid. Actively using your brain is good. But seriously, thinking is our fighting. If we want to build larger muscles, we work them out. So too, if we want caked up brain cells, we need to give them a challenge to chew on. The article I just mentioned lists learning new information and processing it at a deeper level as its top brain stimulating activity. An article called Lifelong Learning in the Delaware Journal of Public Health looked at the link between learning and dementia prevention and found that mentally stimulating activities can promote the production of new neurons and neural connections, which in turn promotes problem solving, critical thinking, and creativity. So, the opposite of brain rot. Obviously, you can get the same benefits of education in a classroom, but I recommend self-education for a few reasons, and the first of which is accessibility. School is expensive. My bank account knows that full well, and it takes time, usually a set schedule over a period of weeks or months that you, as an adult, which according to my analytics you almost definitely are, might not have. When you're directing your own learning, you can find materials that work within your budget, and you can slip studying into pockets of time. And as I'll discuss more in a minute, we are spoiled for resources, and access to knowledge has never been more widespread than it is right now. But the real reason I love self-education so much is this. It relies on intrinsic motivation. It's something you do for no other reason than to improve yourself. Maybe there's a reason you're learning a certain thing, like you want to speak the local language on an exciting trip you have planned, or you want to better chat with your partner on something they enjoy. But still, there's no one telling you to study. You're not working toward a promotion or a straight A report card. And personally, I think that intrinsic motivation is another skill we're losing nowadays. The ability to do something hard simply because it enriches us and that enrichment feels good, not because it will get us something. You know, this actually reminded me of when I was in middle school. I would sit myself down and just write out lists of everything I wanted to learn one day. Subjects from ecology to theology to web development and fashion design. And I wanted to learn these things entirely because I was 13, thought they were cool, and I didn't know what a resume was. But now, if you Google self-education or why self-education, every page argues that it's an essential soft skill that will give you a competitive edge in today's labor market. I have no doubt that's true, but personally, I would urge you to approach it not from a place of professional development, but instead from a place of curiosity and childlike wonder, which the pushers of brain rot also don't want you to have. But real quick, if you're enjoying this video so far, you might also enjoy my brand new Substack newsletter. Over there, I'll be sharing more practical advice on building a creative and thought-oriented life, as well as reading recommendations, writing prompts, and essays that put the personal in personal essay. It's completely free, and in return for your subscription, and as a token of my undying love and gratitude, you will receive well-read in 32 weeks, an 11-page reading plan of over 50 classic books I've read and loved that will give you a solid foundation in great literature. So if you don't know where to start with self-education, you could start there. The newsletter will be linked down below, but if you're just a video person, I respect that, in which case, you know which button to hit. My 4-step self-teaching framework, aka the SCAR method. And why, yes, I did spend an unreasonable amount of time coming up with an acronym. Step 1, select. Choosing your topic is essential because your interest in it will determine how far and deep you go. You want to avoid topics you think you should know and focus on what you're genuinely drawn to. For example, as an American, I know I probably should study Spanish. I would get way more use out of it than classical Latin, but about 50% or so of English is Latin. And as a writer, I want to better understand where the words I write come from. If no topic immediately jumps out to you as one you want to study, I recommend just taking a few days, maybe a week, just being conscious of where your attention is drawn. And here you can actually put your For You page to work. Do you maybe tend to stop scrolling on cooking videos? Well, have you considered maybe studying food science or proper cooking technique? Or are you a true crime devotee? If so, maybe you actually want to study forensics. In my experience, your interests will start closer to home and connect more to things you're already doing, and then expand outward as your sphere of knowledge grows. Step 2, curate. Locate your resources. I find this stage exceedingly fun because it's the first official foray into an exciting new topic, and we are truly blessed to have nearly everything we could ever want to know at our fingertips all the time, largely for free. That said, it's very easy to get overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information out there, and that's why I implement a rule of 3. One foundational text, one expert to follow, and one active community. To go back to my Latin study, that looks like my foundational text is the textbook Familia Romana. My expert is Steve Kaufman's language channel here on YouTube, and my active community is r/Latin. I plan to go more in depth on where exactly to find study resources in a future video, but it doesn't have to be complicated. To find a foundational text, a quick Google on your topic plus books will find you a list of essential reading, or of course you can ask your local librarian for guidance. Your expert can be a teacher, a tutor, a course if you're able, but if not, there is a wealth of experts creating quality content on YouTube. And a community can be a meetup group or a study group in your area, a smart friend, or something as simple as a subreddit. Step 3, apply. If you've ever heard of the Feynman technique, this stage will sound familiar. Physicist and Nobel laureate Richard Feynman developed a learning technique that focused on simplifying concepts for better understanding. After selecting and studying your material, he wants you to teach it to a child. That means you have to present the information in plain English as simply as possible, but in order to do that, you have to thoroughly understand it. If you can't explain what you're studying in the most basic terms, free of jargon, you probably don't understand it that well. And I'm sure this is something we've all experienced. When you're trying to explain something to someone, and as you're talking, you realize, I don't know how to put this into words. Now, you don't need to literally find a kid and teach him macroeconomics, although bonus points if you do. Simply imagining and writing down what you would teach a student can be enough to test your understanding and help you identify weak spots. The Feynman technique is great for conceptual topics like literary theory or abnormal psychology, but I don't think it quite addresses more practical or technique-based things you might want to learn. Things like baking, pottery, or an instrument. In those cases, regularly ask yourself this question. What am I doing, and why am I doing it? Say you're baking a cake, and you need flour, sugar, butter, eggs, baking powder. It's one thing to know you need to put them together in specific proportions in order to get a cake, but it's a whole different level of understanding to know why. What does the butter do, the egg do, the flour? Why bake on 350 instead of 400? In short, applying your newfound knowledge, or knowing why you're applying your new knowledge, is the key to self-education that sticks. Finally, step 4, reflect. After you've taught your topic to someone, literally or figuratively, the gaps in your knowledge will be apparent. What did you have trouble explaining? What technique didn't you understand? Conversely, what new insights did you have? And have you made any connections between different concepts? Is there anything you're curious about? Reflection doesn't have to take much time or energy. I usually do a weekly audit, which is just a page in my commonplace book where I jot down the progress I've made and the questions I have, plus any insights that come up. The following week, I prioritize my weak spots before carrying on to new material. From here on out, you'll be cycling between stages of application and reflection and curating new resources as you progress. What I love about this system is that it develops your analysis and critical thinking skills alongside whatever it is you're studying, because you're evaluating yourself, no one is grading you. Self-teaching puts yourself back in the driver's seat of your own brain. Now, before you go drive that brain, you should be aware of these 2 common pitfalls. The beginner blues. We've all been there. You start learning something new and you're loving it, but you just want to be an expert already. Maybe it's a language you want to speak fluently or an advanced piece of music you want to play, but the idea of getting from here to there is so daunting that you wonder if it's even possible. It absolutely is possible. So I started knitting around 14 or 15, and I'm entirely self-taught through YouTube University. And for months on end, I knit scarf after misshapen scarf when what I really wanted to knit was my own clothing. It did take me a good 6 or 7 years before I felt I finally had the skill to knit a garment that fit properly. But now I'm at a point where probably about a third of my wardrobe is hand knit or crocheted, and that's pretty freaking cool, and certainly would not have happened if I rage quit all those years ago. And now I'm knitting this top. So if you're battling the beginner blues, ask yourself this question. Do I love what I'm learning enough to endure the growing pains? Maybe your answer is no, and you only want to skip to expert level because you're not truly enjoying the process or the material. In that case, I give you permission to quit and try something new. But if your answer is yes, I beg you, do not give up when the going gets rough, because eventually that love of the work will get you to where you want to be. Alternately, you might love being a beginner so much that you keep starting to learn new things but don't make much progress on any one of them. You're so committed to self-education that every time a new interest grabs you, you dive right in. Love the energy, love the enthusiasm. But the irony is that learning becomes the new scrolling. Starting a new project gives you that same hit of dopamine that scrolling to a new TikTok would. In my experience, shiny object syndrome is a particularly easy trap to fall into when you're new to self-education because you're still breaking away from that endless algorithm mindset. It's totally natural to want variety. I know I need quite a bit of it myself to stay engaged, but instead of getting that variety by switching between topics, vary the methods and the materials you use in one topic. I'll use language learning as an example again. Instead of studying Greek, then Korean a few weeks later, then German after that, stick with Greek, but alter how you study it. Maybe read a short story on Monday and then do grammar drills on Wednesday. Listen to a podcast Friday and then speak with a partner on Sunday. That way, each study session feels new and different, but you're still going deep into one area instead of simply dipping your toes into several. In the beginning of the video, I asked myself the question, how do I get back to who I used to be? Self-education is the answer to that question, not only because the process strengthens the cognitive function that I've been neglecting, but also because the entire effort is emblematic of the person I truly know myself to be. And if you watched this far, who you are too. Someone who is curious about the world around them, who wants to explore new ways of thinking, who values knowledge for its own sake. Someone who wants to experience life directly, not have it boiled down and served to them on a pocket-sized platter. Well, that is it for me today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, which is the easiest and fastest way to support the channel. And do let me know in the comments, if you could study anything, what would it be? Or what have you taught yourself in the past? I'm very curious to know what subjects strike your fancy.
You can also follow me on Instagram and Goodreads at ThoughtCouture. I knew I was forgetting to say something.
And as always, thank you so much for spending your time with me. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.